It was Halloween. A time of candy, a time of scaring people's butt off, and a time the recently released from the underground monsters adored. They ignored the origin of this social holiday, that being that in ancient times adults dressed up as monsters to scare human children into being vigorously cautious and afraid of monsters. That was mostly now due to the fact that it had become a social holiday for everyone to enjoy, with trick or treating being at the forefront. It was such an interesting ritual to observe by monster kind, seeing little humans dress up as monsters, approach houses and ask for candy, and then actually getting it. I loved it. One of the recently freed monsters, a skeleton by the name of Sans, especially was completely taken by it. He had a smaller statue and was planning to pretend to be a child just to get a lot of candy himself. Though sadly that plan fell into the water as he realized his local middle school was having a Halloween party, and his foster child and emissary between monsters and humans, Frisk, well, she insisted he'd attend as a parenting figure, so she could stay after 8 p.m. for the ice cream bash. It really was just an all-you-can-eat ice cream cart that was pushed in before the end of the party. But she was really into that, and who was he to deny that? What he didn't know at the time was the requirement for him to attend safety meetings, 3 in total. And oh god, they were such a bore. The strangeness of him being the only monster here had soon turned to absolute boredom. He was accompanying the other parents to each and every fire exit of the school, shown the first aid stations, fire alarms, etc. They really were acting like he couldn't read clearly visible exit signs. If the other parents weren't involved in this, he'd honestly think that they held these stupid meetings just for him. It was on the final day, that he realized that something was off. Honestly, it had been bothering him the entire time, of course, though he couldn't put his finger on it. But as he saw the dean scold you, the janitor of the middle school, for hanging up skeleton decoration, he realized what was off about this place. As you were being chewed out for your insensitiveness, Sans had casually approached the two of you. Ladies, ladies. He had raised both hands in a defensive manner, while trying not to completely laugh his skeletal butt off. You don't have to do this just for me. I'm fine with the skeletons. Sans wiped away the plastic skeleton from your hands, and using his magic he hung it up, out of reach of both the dean and you. What's so offensive about that, huh? Just a skeleton. Something that happens naturally to anyone. He grinned, and you blushed, while the dean's left eye twitched. She was completely unsure how to proceed, and her professionalism just couldn't handle this blatant regard of her sensitivities. She then scoffed, and Sans realized he just made an enemy. Meanwhile, you were ordered to hang up all the skeleton decorations as punishment. Sans watched you as you walked into the janitor closet to get all the plastic skeletons out. While he now enjoyed the meeting, after all, now he suddenly had a huge flood of questions for your school dean about fire safety procedures and regulations. Sure, these questions were dumb, but in his eyes, Frisk's dean deserved it. And so the sun was already setting by the time it was finished. And as the parents stepped into their cars, annoyed and amused by the skeleton, Sans looked up into the school. The lights in one of the classrooms had just turned on, and he saw your silhouette as you're putting bone stickers on the window. He sighed. He wanted to annoy your dean and get you out of being punished, but yeah, you were punished after all. Sighing in defeat, he pulled out his mobile phone, immediately dialing the number of home. Hey kiddo, I'll be needing a little longer. I'm stopping by the bar. Sans chuckled at Frisk's protest. Come on, kiddo. Can't fault an old man for wanting a little bit of relaxation after having to deal with that stuck-up teacher of yours. Frisk chuckled in response to that, and after friendly goodbyes, the skeleton stretched and re-entered the school grounds. Going by memory, he reached the classroom you were still decorating. There was a glowing skeleton figure made to be hung up on the ceiling fan that you couldn't quite reach. Snapping his fingers, Sans made the decoration fly out of your hands and hang itself around the fan. Shocked, you turned around. Mr. Skeleton! You exclaimed. Ah, come on, Mr. Skeleton is my father. Just call me Sans. Yes, sir. Sans casually approached you with his hands in his pockets. How's it going? You shrugged. Alright, I guess. Look, I'm sorry for this. He pointed at the decorations. And you smiled. It's okay. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. I just went a little overboard with not following orders and all. Ah, poor kiddo. You blushed. You hadn't been called kiddo in years. Though considering he was a monster and a skeleton, maybe that made sense. He probably was a couple 100 years old. I'll help you set these up, alright? And no protesting. You need help. You blushed. That really isn't necessary, Sans. Oh, come on, I'm trying to be a pal. And I'm sure you still have a skeleton of skeletons left to hang up. Your eyes widened. Was that a pun? I'm going to apologize for it. You smirked. I don't want you to. Now it was Sans whose cheeks began to glow a pleasant blue. Neato. There was still the gym that needed its skeleton overhaul, and Sans eagerly and diligently helped you setting everything into place, using his charm and magic. It honestly was a blast, and you felt yourself be quite attracted to him. That was even possible between a human and the undead. And once the box of tricks was empty, you sat down on the gym floor next to the already prepared tables for tomorrow's Halloween party. Thanks, you said, exhausted, with a smile. You made this quite pleasant. He shrugged. I just couldn't keep you hanging. Instinctively, you put your hands on his, and he didn't protest. He just smiled even wider than he already was. Will you be here tomorrow? Asked Sans. Of course. At least one kid always vomits after the ice cream bash. Ah, the little rascals don't know their limits yet, huh? You shrugged. I'm just here to get rid of the, colorful mess. What a shit job, huh? He joked. Well, not as terrible as you may think. Sure, during summer vacation I have groundskeeper duties, but hey, that's just me coming over twice per week for a few hours. Ah, the vacation time. I didn't think of that. You shrugged. I just was never one of the smart ones. Janitor was the only thing coming to my mind after high school. And middle school was the happiest time of my life, so I guess I just never left my mind. Thankfully, they were hiring at the time. The old janitor had been fired just recently, when I applied. And the teachers actually thought they would just clean themselves and they didn't need a janitor at all. Well, 3 weeks later after that, I was hired. You chuckled darkly, and Sans blurted into loud laughter. Do I even want to know what he got fired for? Apparently he sold test answers to kids he copied from the teachers' folders in the teachers' lounge. That's cold. You giggled. I know, right? I thought he was a creeper when you first said it. You shook your head in response. Nah, and thank God he wasn't, right? Yep. Sorry if I made it awkward. It's not awkward, it's okay. Everyone wonders that when they hear someone got fired from a middle school for misbehavior. Sans soon got up on his feet, yawning and stretching. Oh, well, gotta get ready for tomorrow. I guess I see you then. He waved him goodbye with a smirk. The party had just reached its high point. Sans was standing next to the bowl of punch. Using a flask he carried, he gingerly put some alcohol into his cup. And if this was a high school, he may have dropped a couple of drops into the serving of punch. But this was a middle school. That would be violently disgusting. Frisk was somewhere mingling in the middle, dressed in a royal bathrobe from Queen Toriel. He was trying to scout your location. After all, you weren't the only one here who appreciated a good pun, and he had a pleasant enough evening with you last night. He hadn't seen you the entire time, and he was worried you might not show up. Maybe you were on standby in the janitor closet. And as he considered going there, someone suddenly stepped next to him. Hey, can I have a swig? Sans looked to his right and grinned. Hey there, Miss Janitor. You weren't wearing a costume. Probably the only one here. Even he was dressed in a Reaper outfit. He offered his flask to you. And after drinking a bit of the liquid inside, your throat pleasurably burned. Ah, thank God. I really needed this. He sighed, leaning against the wall behind you. I've been on my feet since this morning. I need a break. Oh, do you? You rolled your eyes. I had to mix the punch, throw the Halloween buns in the oven, and listen to our dear Dean as she explained that the buns had too much sugar and every child should only get one because of the nutrition. Then she complained about the ice cream bash and how much she wished this old and archaic tradition of the school needed to be replaced with a salad bar or some hippie bullshit. I stopped listening at that point. Sanson nodded, and he blushed. There was something about you that he liked. He found it super attractive. And he couldn't put his bony fingers on what it was. You offered him his flask, but he just said, "Empty it, you need it," before winking. Shrugging, you proceeded to down every last drop, while he sipped at a spiked punch. After a while of quietly watching the children, Sans tugged at your sleeve, putting a finger on his teeth to urge you to be quiet. Hey, do you want to know what would really piss off your boss? Sans began to whisper into your ear, and your face flushed red. And as he finished his explanations of the naughty things he could do to you, quite graphic descriptions at that, you stood there, dumbfounded, and a little turned on. Meanwhile, he just grinned, awaiting your answer. though the longer you stood there, the redder your face became. And finally, you grabbed his wrist. "Janitor closet, now!" Chuckling, Sans followed you as you dragged him out of the gym into the janitor's closet. You had already pulled down the zipper of your brown coverall, revealing your curvy body to him as he sat down on the nearby stool. Sans was impressed that you were hiding such a wonderful, sinful figure underneath all that. He chuckled, letting his digits bury into your supple, soft flesh as you sat down on his lap. Smiling, you wrapped your arms around the skeleton man, while his bony fingers crawled up your chest, wrapping around your precious orbs, pinching and tugging at your underwear. "You know, I never did it with a monster before," you hushed. And he looked up at you with an ever-present grin. "Well then, have to put in extra work, don't I? To make this special, huh?" You kissed the skeleton man on his teeth, only for him to open his mouth. You noticed a blue glow, and after pulling away a little, you saw a large blue tongue inside his gaping jaws. Impressed, you huffed. "Surprised? Didn't I just tell you that I was gonna..." "Surprised? I thought I told you what I was gonna do with this thing," he asked smugly. "Yeah, and I can definitely work with that," you hushed seductively. Thank you to the people who are supporting me on Ko-fi. You guys are keeping me alive.